My name is Neil Jenner, and I'll be presenting the results of my Change Readiness survey for my leading organizational change class, led by Professor Collette. The Change Readiness survey was to measure the corporation's readiness to change in my particular change project. There's a PowerPoint that I sent along with this email, and I'm on slide 2 to start. First was the delivery method. I actually sent the survey. It was a 10-question multiple choice survey to participants via email. The reasons why were I work remotely here in Indiana. I'm the only AAA employee here for my company, and I had to send it to 4 different locations: Hamilton, New Jersey, Oklahoma City, Las Vegas, and Walnut Creek, California. And I use the service SurveyMonkey, which is surveymonkey.com. You can create a free account, and it does have some limitations for the free account, but it works nicely. People in the organization are used to that, and I've used it before, so I like the familiarity aspect and thought it would provide higher results, participation results. I gave them a 48-hour window for the survey. I gave leaders a heads up prior to sending the email to let them know exactly what to look for, what to expect, and why we were doing this. And then the leaders also offered to give me a cross-section of a hand-picked sample, just to make sure they weren't getting, all the cheerleaders or all the change leaders, change champions, or the people that just hated change. So we have a nice cross-section. And then I divided into 2 groups. I actually surveyed a staff group and a leadership group because I wanted to compare the differences. And as I said earlier, it was a 10-question multiple choice survey. As far as the results, I sent the survey to 31 people. We had 26 respondents, about an 84% participation rate. In some categories it was interesting, and this is in my paper, but the leaders scored higher as far as the positive aspects, but they also scored higher in one of the negative aspects around decision making. So it was just interesting to see how leadership was either connected or disconnected in some areas versus what the frontline employees saw. In the results, I called out the low scoring trends, and just as a side note, I used the example that we had in Canvas that gave us the scores 1, 2, and 3, and then it actually gave us a scoring metric, and I just copied that but customized it to this group or to my company. So if I saw a low score trend, I considered it a low score trend if 30% or more of the group called this out as a negative. And so the 3 trends that I called out that were low were communication, decision making, and morale. And then the 4 trends that I called out that were high scores, and I considered a high score trend anything 60% or more. The 4 categories were organizational context, change, innovation, and a question at the end where I said, will this change be positive for our agents? And we had more than 60% say yes. In regards to the change scoring model metric, if you can see this right here, this is actually in my paper. This is the metric. My company, when I tallied the scores, actually scored a 526, which is in the upper end of this middle category. So change is likely, but with some difficulty. If you go to the next slide, I talk about recommendations and observations. Recommendation is to proceed with the change. As I called out, the score was definitely in the upper end of this middle range, so it's more closely aligned with the likely to succeed category. While we may experience some resistance, I feel that the results in the survey show that leaders are engaged, and the employees feel overall that the company is both innovative, and they understand the motivation and the alignment of this change to our goals and strategies. Leaders will obviously need to focus on those 3 categories around communication that's lacking, decision making, and then morale, which shows some mistrust in the organization. But then on the flip side, leaders will also need to continue to feed and support the high scoring areas of organizational context, change, innovation, and driving home the point of why this change will be positive for our agents. Along the way, I suggest celebrating milestones, so celebrating things like a graduation ceremony once they complete the training for this new single point of contact plan, or potentially celebrating when we have so many agents calling in and we have certain service level achievements. So definitely go forward with the recommendation. A couple observations. Timing of the survey was not optimal. We had a company-wide survey for engagement that went out the same week, but was able to get this in. So in hindsight, I would do that differently if time would allow. I did not lock the survey questions, and that allowed for 2 people to answer only partial questions or a partial amount of the survey. Had I locked them, I would have gotten a little more insight, a little bit more information, so I would lock questions going forward, which is definitely possible. And then I would give probably a 72-hour to a 96-hour survey window as opposed to 48 hours, and would have sent a reminder email midway through just to get a higher level of participation. So anyway, at the end of the day, survey was great, gave us a lot of great insight. I look forward to providing it to my executives on this project. I think it's going to help us confirm or reaffirm some things that we suspected, and will definitely help us head in the right direction for the remainder of this project. So overall, a great experience. Looking forward to applying the results going forward. Thanks.